Joining me now is research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Joel Griffith. Joel, this little ticker, tracker, whatever you want to call it, on your website of the policymakers and their COVID hypocrisy might be my favorite thing on the internet. There's something about the map that just brings it all home for me, Joel. And I have constantly said to people, look, it's not that they're hypocrites. All politicians are hypocrites and scumbags for the most part. It's that they're not actually worried about coronavirus. Now, am I wrong about that? They are, and they're just covering it up well?
Well, their actions certainly suggest that in their own lives, they're not as worried as they're telling us that we should be. I mean, we could talk for hours about all these examples, but if you look at, I think the one that jumps out most in my head is probably the most recent one. Mayor Jane Castor, who's the mayor of Tampa and was coming down so hard on the good people of her city just for daring to celebrate the Super Bowl without a mask on their face. And then it turns out she was spotted at a hockey game without a mask on. And I'm not saying that she should have had a mask on. I'm just saying that when you have these politicians telling everybody else that they need to stay home, they can't have people over for dinner, they should cancel their vacations for the upcoming year, and yet they're engaged in those very activities as they should be, that is deeply hypocritical.
Joel, I'm actually glad you brought that up because it's a perfect example of what I wanted to talk about. Help me psychoanalyze these people as best as you and I can do. This is a mayor standing up in front of her constituents on TV, yelling at her constituents for celebrating their team winning a Super Bowl. Celebrating your own team winning the Super Bowl is the biggest political gimme I've ever heard in my life, and somehow she comes down on the wrong side of it. How?
It's as if she's embarrassed by the imagery that we have seen over the past week of people in Tampa not doing anything out of the ordinary, just living their lives, going out at a bar, going out at a restaurant, having a few friends over on a boat, just living their lives as people should do. And I think some of those of our friends on the left are actually embarrassed by imagery of their constituents actually daring to enjoy life. And we know that there's such a contrast right now between Tampa. I'm actually currently near Fort Lauderdale, where things are almost completely reopened. What a contrast between that and a place like Washington, D.C., where people like myself had been having to worry about having a citation for daring to have a dozen people over for a dinner party.